Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and this is going to be a fun day of plugin giving, because I've invented something new. It's based on an idea that I had doing my last live stream, and that was just last Monday, first time I tried to do that. I stayed for 2 hours and answered a lot of people's questions, and at one point, I was making notes on a piece of paper, much like this one, and got an idea live on stream that gave me a new plugin. Introducing Dither Me Timbers. Yes, this is the new Dither plugin. Here's the thing. I've already got Not Just Another Dither, and as far as sort of ultimate Dither plugins, you're probably going to like Not Just Another Dither or this, not necessarily both. So this is going to be for people with a particular taste in word length reduction. What it does differently, well, I'll show you. Here, we'll mute this down just a little bit. We're now running through the system that demonstrates these things. Here is, for instance, TPDF. Not Just Another Dither has a different tone to it. And you'll notice it's kind of glittery and nice. Here's Dither Me Timbers. But there's something special going on here, because Dither Me Timbers comes out of an idea that I don't think has ever been used in dithers before, because it's not actually a dither at all. Here's what's going on here. And I'll demonstrate this in more depth momentarily. Suppose you have these sample positions. Now you might think that this would be representing a waveform that's like this, but you'd be wrong, because the waveform like that can't actually make this corner. That corner is a high frequency artifact that's not contained within the sampling system. So what you get is a wiggly shape like this, because that's what the corner looks like when you take away all of the frequencies above the sampling rate. That's just the shape of what you've got when you no longer have that corner. And as you can see, it sort of overshoots, and there's the pre and post wiggle in there, and that's one of the things that makes digital audio sound the way that it does. Here's the deal. In explaining this, I went, yep, you're going to get this because the waveform has to go around like this, unless you were to like turn the top one down, at which point I realized doing dithers is like taking a sample and working out where it is on a position, and you have to quantize them to discrete levels. Like that's 2, here's 4. You have to decide whether the sample is going to go to one of these or the other. And dither uses random noise to make it so that the result sort of statistically ends up being on a continuum. Like any individual point's not going to be in this line, but if you average them together enough, you would get something that looked like that line. Dither as such does that, and you can kind of hear it. Here, I'll play this little example one more time. But turn it down a lot. And if you have dither, it's going to make things like the bass in here end up being roughly on the line it's supposed to be. If you had, say, truncation, you would wind up with this weird effect where it's trying to be forced to the one point or the other. And this ends up sounding kind of nasty. If you go to something like, say, Not Just Another Dither, it's using Benford realness calculations and noise shaping to give you very much the same result, but the noise factor is more high frequency and less obtrusive. What Dither Me Timbers does is makes this decision in a different way. What it's going to do is it's going to ask itself always on, say, a series of truncation points like this, if you picked one or the other of these truncation places, which will make it work the most like a low-pass filter? So you choose this, and it goes flat rather than up to the point, and it filters off high frequencies if they are, and the idea is it's going to be looking at all times at the center. It runs one sample of latency, and at the center point of three sample positions, it's going to look at that and go, okay, from the two directions that I could round this off, which one is going to wipe out the high frequencies more? And I can demonstrate that by playing stuff. For instance, we'll go over to StealthKit Jam here. And here's Not Just Another Dither. And you can hear that we've got some hi-hats and things. I'm not sure, maybe it's something anything would be better. Yeah, like that hi-hat. Now if you have, say, truncation, it's grindy, but you can hear that hat. Hear that hat? It's almost being accentuated. And with Not Just Another Dither, boy, you can hear that hat real clearly. Now we'll try Dither Me Timbers. Say no more. It's literally filtering out high frequency elements at these micro levels to make the resulting audio smoother, softer, less trebly. As a result, it's also got a characteristic where it's going to be less bright than normal dither like TPDF. There, you can hear the hat again. And there's a tendency of brightness in there. It's kind of bright and twinkly. And of course, Not Just Another Dither is all about that. Although the one thing about types of noise is that if you have really bright noise like that, it will tend to mask out bright high frequency information. And this is why you can almost hear the hat more clearly with truncation and no dither at all. I'll demonstrate that. So you can hear how that's making that hat brighter. And then we'll switch over to Dither Me Timbers. Here's the thing. This is not actually a dither. The way it behaves is kind of interesting. I'll show you how it sounds going to a fade. We've got like truncation fades like this. You hear it hangs on to the information until it just stops. Not just another dither. Has this hiss going on, and then when you fade it out, it goes to silence, and it has that little high frequency stuff. And if you listen really closely, you can hear that's not really noise. But we're talking about either the 24-bit or the 16-bit level, so you really can't hear this, and it's doing a decent job of showing the relative volume level of what things are, rather than just having a solid mass of noise. Like if you want a solid mass of noise, here's one. This TPDF. Normal stock dither is going to behave like that. But if you've got not just another dither, it's kind of bright. It's doing this. And it's going to try to go to silence if you're feeding it with just delicate touches of noise. Dither Me Timbers it'll make a certain degree of noisish behavior, but because it's doing that high frequency roll-off stuff, it's again, this is the same thing that you get with, say, this. Except for Dither Me Timbers, tries to fade to silence in this way that sounds kind of vaguely like, I don't know, vinyl surface noise or something. It goes down to a kind of scrunchy, non-tonal noise that's at about exactly the right level. You can hear it's a buzz, whereas not just another dither, you've got a more dense noise going on. Dither Me Timber turns it into a kind of scrunch. It's hanging on to more of the tonality, but it's very deeply correlated as it fades to silence. That's my trade-off for this. It's in order to not have this degree of noise. Instead, you get a bit of a noisy scrunch. It's correlated, and it is producing about exactly the same level that you would have out of the original noise, no matter how faint that might be. And that's something that not just another dither can do. Not just another dither is trying much harder to make a consistent noise floor at these faint levels. Dither Me Timbers only cares about making a sound at essentially exactly the level that you're supposed to have. And remember, this is all at the noise floor. If you have any noise in your mix, you're going to have music. And you'll have the moderate noise that's being added. But listen to the hi-hat in this recording. You'll hear it now. Listen to what happens as I fade it out. And it's gone. Now, another reason you might want to have that is if you're doing stuff that includes, say, reverb. Here's empty pictures again. And again, if you've got a reverb like this, you've got this background information. It's meant to be kind of quiet because it's literally the vibration from the guitar solo there. And that's typically going to be more rolled off than the rest of the audio. And with normal techniques, you'll have something like, say, TPDF. Or truncation. And you might notice you're not hearing that reverb anymore. It's going away. If we turn on Not Just Another Dither, what we're hearing you can still hear some of that reverb tail in there, but it is NJAD tends to focus in on detail. So you're hearing the hats, you're hearing as much of the texture of everything as you can, so it's kind of a hi-fi vibe. You know, it's your Steely Dan style glitter going on. And that's desirable for some people, and it's desirable for some types of tonality. What Dither Me Timbers does, because it is, like I said, it's this. It's going to take every single high-frequency detail that it can find, and it will make the decision of which direction to round it based on whether it's going to be rolling off the highs. That means you hear the reverb more. And I'll demonstrate that now. Try to acclimate yourself to the verb. You can hear how that reverb is sort of coming more to the forefront, while not coming forward at all, because it's a EQ effect. It's a high frequency roll off. And one of the things about it is that since we're accentuating that, as we fade down to silence, the tonality of the mix does not come forward. Instead, it sits back the way it's supposed to. I was noticing this with some of the stuff I was testing it all out on. We'll demonstrate that against dither box and truncation. So we have more depth then. It goes completely flat and is extremely nasty because we're filtering it down to this scrunchy level. And things like hats are coming out here. So it's turning into garbage. If we use Not Just Another Dither, we've got the presentation here. And we're going down to a point where we can kind of hear detail, a little bit of glitter, a little bit of focus on everything. And that's the last thing that we retain. Whereas if we go to Not Just Dither Me Timbers, rather, getting them mixed up. It's not coming forward at all. Instead, it's rather going backward. And we can also demonstrate that by cutting it in and out, leaving the general volume level the same. Like this is dry. And if we cut in Not Just Another Dither, we're getting focus and definition. But it's almost like it comes forward a bit. Dither Me Timbers. The apparent depth location is exactly the same. And again, this is cutting in and out full resolution versus incredibly low bit. You can hear the size of the reverb is basically the same. So there you have it. Dither Me Timbers is a new plugin from Airwindows. And you're either going to love it or you're going to like Not Just Another Dither better. Because it's got that funny quality about it where the improvement over Not Just Another Dither, if you care about like size and space of the reverb tails, the physicality of the depth of the room, the darkness and mellowness of subtleties, if you're like, you want old school tape and vinyl kind of thing, you do not want your details coming forwards and being like glitter, 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 I'm digital, then you're going to absolutely love Dither Me Timbers, which is designed to run at the 24-bit level. So it's your output when going to modern digital formats or intermediate files like saving 24-bit audio. There is also a variation which is called Dither Me Diskers, and this is your 16-bit version. So unlike a bunch of these other ones, but like Not Just Another Dither, which has the Not Just Another CD, Dither Me Timbers has the CD version, so if you're still making 16-bit anything, you can use this. And then your CDs will also have that sort of teepee-like depth and ambience and lack of like micro glitter, micro digital tiz going on. I don't think there's another way to really do this. I mean, you got stuff like normal dither. There's a lot of people who would advise using something like TPDF because it is technically correct. And you can hear pretty plainly. Here is our full resolution. And here is TPDF. I don't think that's actually making it hang on to the depth better. I feel that it's just, there is a level of not correlation going on. But on the other hand, though it's technically correct and you'd want to use it for like scientific measurements and things like that, there's a sort of fullness and body to the sound that it completely lacks that I get with Dither Me Timbers, because it's using that truncation threshold as essentially a sound processor and saying, don't hang on to any of this digital glitter and fakeness. Instead, use it to just sit things back in the soundstage and suppress unwanted and distracting high frequency information that's down around the threshold of hearing. So I think for many people who are not looking to have the ultimate in focus and glitter out of their digital stuff, and you know who you are, you're going to greatly prefer Dither Me Timbers to Not Just Another Dither as far as next generation word length reducers. And I also know that there are people who just want that focus at all costs, and I've already got Not Just Another Dither, so that's the one that you're probably going to want and use it in good health. But if you like that old school, dark, analog-y kind of stuff, or say maybe you're doing a Brian Eno kind of thing, or your carbon-based life forms or something like that, and you're all about just making these dark digital soundscapes where everything is very reverby and distant, and there's just all warmth and doesn't have any edges anywhere that would ruin the effect. Dither Me Timbers is your thing. It is going to blow away everything else as far as what you need. And that's because it's not actually a dither. It's not even close to a dither. Instead, what it's doing is applying a filter where a dither would go. I hope you like it. I am Chris from Airwindows. I'm supported on Patreon, and that's the reason I can continue doing things like this. Otherwise, I might have had to stop even before getting Not Just Another Dither, and then where would we all be? Here is Dither Me Timbers. I have spent a half an hour explaining it, so I'm going to have a really long upload today. And for all that, I hope you like it. And thank you.